to bring you an excerpt from Yogananda's teachings for a little bit of noontime inspiration. On weekdays, my husband and I alternate. And today, the quotation of his that I want to talk about is a very interesting one. He says, making money honestly and industriously to serve God's work is the next greatest art to the art of realizing God. Wow, that is a powerful, all-consuming statement. And I want to just offer a few brief thoughts about it, at least my interpretation of it, which is that in order to make money honestly and industriously, truly at the essence of it is part of it is non-attachment. The people who can make money honestly and industriously, even not to serve God's work, but just in general, are usually people who are very creative, and I don't mean that just artistically. Think about the great inventors or the people who really birthed the launch of the whole IT world. All of that, all of those people at their essence are not attached to money. They're not even interested in money. They're interested in getting inside of whatever it is that they're discovering. And so it is, of course, the same with serving God's work. It's not about the money. It's about serving God. And in that process, we're remembering God all the time. And in that process, it is the next greatest art to the art of realizing God, because it's when we're with God as we're serving, recognizing that God is the doer, it is then that our entire waking life of activity becomes spiritualized, and that's the vast majority of our life. And that's when our meditative life and our life of service become like a steady flow towards the same end of God realization. And he said that very same thing about other things. For instance, I was reading recently where he said that a very similar thing about growing your own food. Again, it's not about the food. It's not about the growing. It's about remembering God, doing it with God. That is true for really anything and everything that we do. What tends to happen is if we become attached to the thing itself or the form itself, then, well, I remember in the early days of Ananda in California, when I lived there, there was a sense of working for the Sangha, for the church office, however you want to think of it, was spiritual work. And anything other than that was somehow lesser. And so people who worked in some of the businesses that Ananda had developed, some of the businesses were in town, felt on some level like second-class citizens because they weren't serving the ministry directly. These are the kinds of subtle attitudes that can creep in. And Swami Kriyananda used to bring it up in his talks and classes so that people more and more began to understand it's all about serving God's work. And it really doesn't matter what form that takes. He was never in the garden. He never grew his own food. Neither did any of our the gurus in our Yogananda's lineage. It doesn't mean they weren't great spiritual giants. It just means that they did other things to serve God. And whatever it is, the form doesn't matter. What matters is, and why he says that about making money honestly and industriously, because money is one of the biggest things that people are attached to from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. And so he lists that one specifically so that we can understand that it works when it's not about the money, but it's about remembering God as we're serving. So joy to you, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye now.